Tonight on Crimewatch, where is Claudia Lawrence?
It's almost unbearable not knowing.
Could this man have the answer?
I just find it hard to accept that people just vanish into thin air.
Hello and welcome to Crimewatch on a very special anniversary. 25 years ago, on the 7th of June 1984, Crimewatch first went on air asking for your help to solve major crimes. Since then, you have helped put 57 murderers behind bars, taken 53 rapists and sexual offenders off the street, and put a stop to 18 paedophiles. From the very beginning, we've been joined by detectives in the studio to take your calls on some of the biggest cases of the day, from the Brighton bombing to the murders of Jamie Bulger, Lynn and Megan Russell, and more recently, Rhys Jones. Later tonight, we hear from some victims, their families and detectives about how your calls make such a difference.
Have you got the money?
Who's this, please?
Never mind. Have you got the money?
Quite a few people did know him and came forward, and he was caught the next day.
Also tonight, Rav is up north on a mission.
Yep, I'm here with the Greater Manchester Police, tackling everything from arson to antisocial behaviour for the Crimewatch Roadshow, which is on every morning this month. But there's still nowhere to hide from my most wanted, and in the past we've had wives, partners, neighbours and even prison inmates phoning in to tell us where to find them. So call us and put this lot away tonight.
And a case that is truly shocking, how a brave 70-year-old took on armed robbers but ended up fearing for his life with a gun to his head.
Get down! Get down! What are you? Get down on the floor! Get on the floor! Now do it! Get on the floor!
The next thing that went through my mind was, God, you're going to get one over kick in here.
But first tonight, Claudia Lawrence. It is now nearly 3 months since Claudia, you'll remember of course the 35-year-old chef from York, vanished without a trace. And despite detectives working around the clock, her disappearance is still a complete mystery. The police fear the worst, that Claudia may indeed have been murdered. But we simply don't know. And you can imagine it's agonising for her family. Tonight, Claudia's mum, dad and sister talk about living in this sort of limbo, desperate for any answers. Our film starts with, well, frankly, extraordinary images of Claudia's home. It's just as it was, preserved as a crime scene and a moment in time.
Good afternoon. My name's Peter Lawrence. I'm very concerned about my daughter.
That's fine. And what's your daughter's name?
Claudia.
Concern grows for a 35-year-old woman who's been missing for a week.
Police here in York are saying that the disappearance of Claudia Lawrence is completely and utterly out of character. She was last seen.
The investigation is now being formally classified as one of suspected murder.
We're distraught and we need your help. It's just been a living nightmare not knowing what's happening.
Despite the headlines and huge media interest, we still don't know why Claudia Lawrence vanished from York 11 weeks ago. For someone so close to her family, her disappearance just doesn't make sense.
You're in shock, you don't believe it. You don't believe it's happening, it happens to somebody else.
There are terrible moments. I can sit at home on my own and I can just burst out crying.
Detectives have pieced together Claudia's last known movements.
Right, I'm off. See you tomorrow.
In the hope they will give some clue as to what happened to her.
Let's start with Wednesday, March the 18th, the last day Claudia was seen. She just finished her regular early shift at York University.
CCTV has her leaving the building at 2:30.
In the weeks before Claudia disappeared, she started to walk to and from work. The route to her house was about 2 miles, and that Wednesday was no different. She set off home on foot.
About halfway back, a colleague saw her and offered her a lift.
Hey, Joe. Good, right. Oh, God, I've done it. How are you?
Claudia was dropped off at her door. By now, it was about 10 to 3.
There's a question about what she did next. At about 3:05, a friend passed her, walking back towards her house.
Yeah.
She wasn't on the local shop's CCTV.
So where was she? It could be crucial.
The next time Claudia's on the radar is about 8 p.m. when she texted a friend. Then, just before 8:30, her mum called.
Hiya. Yeah, good, thanks. I'm watching it now.
Now, we can't be sure, but we think she was at home when she took that call. She sounded cheerful and relaxed.
All right, then. Yeah, I will do. Bye.
But that phone call was the last time we know for sure that Claudia was alive and well.
The following morning, she failed to turn up for work.
At 10 o'clock, her manager called her mobile, but there was no answer. Then at 12:08, her phone powered down. It either ran out of battery or someone switched it off.
Claudia was supposed to meet friends that evening, but didn't turn up. When she still didn't answer her phone on Friday morning, they got worried.
I phoned Claudia's dad, Peter, because he has a key to the house, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind coming over to the house and letting himself in to make sure everything was all right, really.
I was just worried to death, quite honestly. And even more so when I went through and found that she wasn't in the house, and nobody had seen or heard of her basically since the Wednesday. I was just worried.
I just find it hard to accept that people just vanish into thin air, and that's what I can't get my head around. There must be people out there that have seen something suspicious or who know something that's happened.
So why didn't Claudia turn up to work that Thursday morning? There's no sign of a struggle here in her house. Her passport and clothes are still here. In fact, the only things missing are a blue rucksack, a mobile phone, and probably a set of chef's whites. The three things she'd normally take to work with her, which suggests she set off for the university as normal, but never arrived.
We know a cyclist saw a couple on Melrose Gate Bridge at around 5:35 that morning, about the time Claudia would have passed this spot. The cyclist described the man as skinny, 5'5" to 5'6", wearing a dark hoodie, dark combat trousers, and smoking a cigarette with his left hand. Half an hour later, near the university, an early morning commuter passed a vehicle parked up on the verge. The passenger door was open. A man and woman near it looked like they were arguing. We think the man was wearing a black hoodie with the hood up.
Was it the same couple? We just don't know. Nor can we be sure the woman was Claudia. But if it was, who was the man she was with?
Could it be this man on CCTV early that same morning near the back of Claudia's house? His behaviour seems a bit strange. He disappears, then 1 minute later, he walks back. There could be an innocent explanation, but detectives need to know who he is and what he was doing.
Police believe something terrible happened to Claudia Lawrence, perhaps at the hands of someone that she knew. Whilst much is still unclear, what is certain is that there are people out there with answers. They need to share them.
Somebody out there does know something, and at the moment they're not saying. It's almost unbearable not knowing.
You try and wonder what's happened to her. You don't want it to be anything unpleasant, so then you try and block that out of your mind. I try not to think about it too much. And that helps you cope, I guess.
There's just something missing. There's very important thing missing, and that's Claudia.
Wow. I'm joined now by Detective Superintendent Ray Galloway, who's heading up this big investigation. As Claudia's sister said there, it's very difficult to imagine that somebody just vanishes off the face of the earth without a trace. What do you think happened?
Well, it's now 11 weeks since Claudia disappeared. There's been no proof of life. I'm treating this investigation as one of suspected murder.
Now, Ray, there's something you want to talk about tonight that you haven't spoken about in public before. You think it could be the key, that there are areas of Claudia's life that are delicate, to say the least, and definitely complex. Tell us what it is you want to say.
As the investigation has developed, it's apparent that some of Claudia's relationships had an element of complexity and mystery to them. I'm certain that some of those relationships were not known to a family or a friend. I need to know the details of those relationships. In fact, I do know details of some of them, and I would urge anybody that was involved in a relationship with Claudia or knew of one that a friend, a colleague, a neighbour was involved in, please, if they're going to be discreet and if they want to actually enable us to deal with it in a controlled way, in a confidential way, they need to pick up that phone and give the call tonight. You
see, some people might think they're protecting Claudia and they're protecting Claudia's reputation, but it's far, far more important than that, if indeed we are talking here about murder. I mean, you do want to hear from people who even have suspicions about other people. That would be useful to you at this stage.
Absolutely. I'm not here to judge Claudia's relationships. I'm here to investigate them. I need people to share that information with me.
We saw, frankly, I think those images of Claudia's house are quite haunting. It seemed to me to be very tidy. Do you think that she stayed there in the night in question?
The evidence would suggest that she left the following morning.
Okay.
What we don't know is whether she stayed there the previous night or that she was at somewhere else. If people know that information, please share it with me.
Now, Ray, I want you just to take people through those key sightings, because they could be very important. The first one was around about 5:35 a.m. We showed it on our reconstruction. Take us through it again, just to remind people of the details.
The first sighting is on Melrose Gate Bridge at 5:35. A gentleman cycling past, and he sees a man in a black hoodie and a cigarette in his left hand.
And what about the second sighting then?
The second sighting, and we don't know it's the same couple.
Right.
And in fact, on neither occasion do we know it's Claudia. But the gentleman driving past, and he sees a couple in an argument on University Road. We need to know who that man was.
And that was early on the morning of Thursday, the 19th of March. You also have this very interesting CCTV footage. It's taken from relatively far away, but it could be crucial.
That's right. This is CCTV, and it's of the property just in which Claudia's house is located. That man is walking around the back of the property of Claudia's house, and he actually comes out about a minute later. It's 10 to 6 in the morning, on the morning that Claudia should have been at work. We know she wasn't at work. She could have been at the house on that occasion. We need to know who that man is.
We certainly do need to know, Ray. Thank you very much for updating us. It sounds to me like the phones are already very, very busy. It might be calls to you. They might be important. We reckon that someone out there knows what happened to Claudia. If that person is you, please call now. I mean, you just saw what not knowing is doing to Claudia's family. It is destroying them. There is also, you may be interested to know, a £10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest or conviction. There's our number up on the screen, 0500 600 600. You might want to remain anonymous, as Ray said. That's fine too. You can call the independent charity Crime Stoppers. I'll give you their number. It's 0800 555 111. If you want to take another look at the reconstruction, just to bone up on the details, it's online, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. Now it's over to Rav.
Shocking is the only way I can describe this month's CCTV.
A day out shopping on Oxford Street, London last July. This group of lads have been spotted shoplifting. When confronted, one of them kicks off. He pulls out a knife and chases staff out onto the busy street. It's all caught on camera by a quick-thinking tourist, not one of the capital's finest sights. 2 members of staff were stabbed, and all this for a T-shirt. Won't cough up for his shopping, let's make him pay for his actions. Name, please. 6 o'clock in the morning at this pub in Welshpool back in September. Hello, who's this? Joined by some mates, they play a quick game of hide and seek. Cause a heap of trouble outside and then break into the office upstairs. One keeps lookout while the camera keeps a close eye on him. Just a little bit closer. Bingo. They got away with £2 grand. Time to call last orders on this lot. Who are they? A night on the town in Liverpool in December. Who's the guy walking calmly towards the camera? Just moments ago he lashed out, knocking a man unconscious in a completely unprovoked attack. The victim had to have surgery to remove a blood clot from his brain. It's mindless thuggery. He thought he could walk away. Let's take him off the streets tonight. What are these two up to outside these offices in Barrow-in-Furness in March? They don't look like they work here. They force the front doors and start looking around. They find the camera all right. Give us a wave. Spoil sport. One goes ahead while the other stays behind to keep watch. It's too late to hide now, mate. They make off with 2 laptops and police don't think it's the first time. They're being linked to at least 3 other burglaries in the area. The most recent was at a school. Stealing from kids. Pathetic. Teach this pair a lesson. Who are they?
Think you know anyone? Call us 0500 600 600 or you can text us on 63399. Just type crime, space and then your message, and it's important to leave that space or your message won't get through. And if you need a second look, it's also online, bbc.co.uk/Crimewatch.
Coming up, killed in Liverpool city centre after his team beat Sunderland 7-1. New evidence that could finally nail Anthony Clark's murderers.
Can CCTV help find the killer who left Paula Poulton's body in the boot of a car near a Southampton train station?
And from dodgy moustaches to don't have nightmares, we celebrate 25 years of Crimewatch.
You don't have to call yourself a guardian angel to help cut crime.
This is a £50 note. In fact, it's not worth the paper it's printed on.
So all of that is still to come. Now, this is 70-year-old Vaughan Price with his wife there, Leslie. 9 years ago, the couple retired to the beautiful and secluded Herefordshire countryside to enjoy a quiet life. But in April, that life was destroyed when armed robbers arrived at their farm.
I've been collecting coins 40-odd years, since before we got married. And since retiring and moving here, we've been able to collect quite a substantial collection of old coins.
It's a really lovely place to live, very peaceful, very tranquil, not many folk about, and we're in the middle of fields.
We're surrounded by farms and countryside, not even a signpost to our place. Someone knew I had these coins, and I kept them here and where to find them.
Just a very normal day. I went out, down to check the horses. Went up and let the chickens out, took the dog across the field.
You fed the chickens?
Yeah.
What about the horses?
Yeah. And friends came to pick me up, and we went out for lunch.
I'm going to have a nice cup of tea, put my feet up, watch the racing on the telly. All the chickens. Oh, just a minute. Somebody just arrived. I shall have to go. I'll see you soon.
And as I'd ordered some nylon bar to be delivered, I thought, well, that's what's come. So I carried on through the house, outside through the carport, to meet the chap and deal with the situation.
Get down! Get down! What are you? Get down on the floor! No, now! Get down! Get on the floor! Now, do it! Get on the floor! Get on the floor! Just get on the floor! Now! Get on the floor! Come on! Get on the floor! Now!
I closed my eyes and I actually put my tongue into the end of the gun. And I thought, well, if he squeezes it, I've had it. The other chap came round the side of the van, shouting at the lad for bringing a gun and telling him they didn't need it.
What the bloody hell you bring the gun?
He was a big bloke. You wouldn't have argued with him.
What the bloody hell you bring the gun?
The next thing that went through my mind was, God, kid, you're going to get one over kicking here. 3 of them, and they're going to give in to anything they want.
Right, we're here for the coins. Are we going to get them?
The answer to that was yes. There was no way I was going to argue anymore.
Got what we came for. Let's get out of here.
How dare they come into your house in the middle of the day like that? You know, had Leslie been here, how could I have protected her? I couldn't. I couldn't even protect myself, let alone protect her.
I just can't believe it's upset Vaughan and taken its toll on him as much as it has.
Never ever been depressed in my life. Until now. And it's simply that you can't cope anymore. You're not able to cope. You can't control the situation.
I wouldn't want anybody to go through what we've been through or what we're still going through. And I just hope somewhere down the line these people can be found and put a stop to.
Well, I'm joined now by Detective Sergeant Nick Shutt, who's heading up this investigation. That was a really nasty attack. It seemed that they knew what they were after, did they?
Yeah, it's apparent to us that the persons that committed the offence obviously knew of Vaughan and obviously his coin collection at the address.
OK, let's take a little look through then. Things very similar, actually, the items that you've brought today,
Yeah.
very similar to the ones that are stolen. Just tell us what we're looking at here. First of all, in this little box.
That's a set of Maundy money. He had approximately 15 sets of those that were stolen. In each set there was 4 coins contained in them, and they're released by the Queen on Maundy Thursday.
Now, there's also a rather, by contrast, really, a rather sort of shiny coin here, and again valuable. What's this?
Yeah, that's a Cougaran, a gold Cougaran. He had a total of 41 of those, and each one of those are worth approximately £700.
I mean, all in all, Nick, this collection is valued at, I mean, upwards of 40 grand, so we're talking about expensive stuff here.
That's right, yes.
Tell us then about where they lived. It was very remote. How come these guys, the robbers, knew where to find them?
Well, we're keeping an open mind about that at the moment. We're aware that Vaughan has bought and sold a number of gold coins on the internet over the last few years, and also he's well known within the village in which he lived, in that he'd also bought a number of gold coins off people that lived within the village as well.
OK, tell us what you know about the robbers.
Well, we know there was 3 robbers in total. They all wore grey boiler suits, black woolen gloves, black balaclavas, and the leader, who seemed to be in charge of the group, he's described as an Asian male, in his 40s, about 6'2" tall, and weighing about 17, 18 stone.
Oh, so he's a big bloke, distinctive.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
We've got a replica of the gun here. Now, they had a bit of a barney about the gun among themselves, these robbers. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. Again, the ringleader wasn't aware that there was a gun brought within the group. It was only when, during the struggle, that the gun went off, that he confronted another member of the group, and they exchanged words because the gun was brought.
What type of gun?
That is a .357 Magnum. It's a Smith & Wesson snub-nose revolver.
So you think that's the one that was
That's
used?
right.
Okay.
Vaughan has had an opportunity to have a look at a vast amount of weapons, and he's identified that one as similar to the one that was used.
Now, just one final question to you, Nick. What else did they take? They took stuff personally from Vaughan?
That's right. Not only did they take his coin collection, they also removed a quantity of jewellery from what he was wearing that day. And as you can see, they've stole a Rolex watch which was on his wrist.
Okay, it's pretty distinct. It's got a dark blue dial.
Yeah, that's right. It's got a dark blue dial, and also it's got a silver and gold wristband as well.
Okay, so anyone who's been offered one of those, indeed if they've even bought it, been tempted, they should contact you, because this could be a crucial bit of evidence.
That's right.
For them. Thanks for now, Nick. There is a £3,000 reward for information leading to arrest and conviction. if you can help. You saw what Vaughan went through. It was horrific. 0500 600 600 is the number to dial, or you could text us. The number for that on the screen, 63399. Now, here's Rav on the hunt for some of the most wanted men and women in Britain.
And we've got to find this first one fast. It's David Lovegrove, wanted for downloading indecent images of children. He's a registered sex offender and was last seen in North Yorkshire in December. He has connections to London, Surrey and Scotland and could be driving a red Vauxhall Astra with Northern Irish plates. Registration LLZ7162. Number 2, this lady is Lorette Winter Ellis, also known as Chantel Winter or Chantel Brown. She's wanted for supplying crack cocaine in Middlesbrough. Ellis is originally from Jamaica but moved to London and could still be living in Hackney. She's believed to have at least 2 children and be married to a man who enlisted in the army in 2006. 3 is 27-year-old Edward Simpson, also known as Teddy Simpson Jr. He's wanted for the attempted murder of a man in Bradford who was shot in the chest in March. He has links across the north of England, including Bradford, Manchester and South Yorkshire, and could be carrying a firearm. So if you see him, don't approach him. Just call 999 immediately. And next up is Nathan Daniel Paul, and police want to speak to him about the supply of Class A drugs in Aberdeen. As well as Scotland, Paul has links to the West Midlands. He's 23 years old, 6 foot tall, and speaks with a black country accent. So, do you know where Mr. Paul here or any of the others are hiding tonight? Call or text now. The number's on the screen, 0500 600 600. Or you can text us on 63399. Just type crime, space, and then your message. Don't forget to leave that space or your message won't get through. And you can also check them out online, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. And remember, all our most wanted stay on the website until they're caught.
Thanks, Rav. It seems the phones are pretty busy here tonight already. I'm being told that we've had some very good calls on Claudia Lawrence. The phones have been busy on that one. I'll update you on the details later tonight after the news. But for now, the 24th of November 2007 was a great day for Everton fans, like Anthony Clark here outside the ground with his grandson. He is here. His team beat Sunderland 7-1 that day. But within hours of the victory celebrations, AJ, as he was known to his friends, lay dying on the streets of Liverpool city centre. In a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by AJ's wife, Janet, and DCI Tim Keelan, as we reveal brand new evidence that could finally put the thugs who murdered AJ behind bars.
That is a blue sky over Goodison Park, perfect for the Blues of Everton to take on Sunderland.
He was a great guy. He was loved by everybody. He loved his wife, he loved his family, he loved everybody. You know, he's that sort of lad, like, you know.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey lads.
Because it was my birthday, we arranged a night out. The men went the match and then we all met up in town. Everton had won that day, 7-1. And it just made it even more of a good night out.
Yeah, guys, yeah. I think you all know why we're here tonight, folk, eh? To celebrate the love of my life. The love that keeps me honest, straight and true.
Who does he think he is? Casa bloody Nova.
What's she on about? I'm talking about Everton Football Club. No, seriously, folks, seriously, come here, you. Hey? To the love of my life, happy birthday, love. I love you, you know.
Yeah, we did have friends over from Dublin. They were staying with us and they'd had a long day and they just needed to go home, and because they were staying in my house, I just felt that I should go home with them.
Oh, don't worry about AJ. He's well used to finding his own way home.
Something that I torture myself over every day. Why didn't I just say to him, I'm going, AJ? And he would have come with me. But I never.
It was a big night for AJ, and a big night for the city of Liverpool too. 2,500 Sunderland fans were in town for the match.
Right, lads. 7-1, eh, lads? You're on the blues, lads.
It was a Saturday night. The town centre was full of clubbers from all over the country. The city was buzzing. Among the crowd of clubbers, revellers and football fans, there were two men dressed in dark clothes. It was a deserted street, but there was one witness, CCTV. Liverpool city centre is watched by over 50 CCTV cameras. My officers have examined hundreds of hours of footage from that night. We now know AJ's movements, and also know those of the two men. At 20 to 4 in the morning, AJ Clark was here in the Quarry Quarter bar. At the same time, CCTV picks up two men walking into Temple Court, less than 100 yards away. They pass Edwards Bar, then reminisce. Just after 3:45, AJ leaves the Quarry Quarter bar.
The person you are calling has their mobile turned off. Please try again.
Two men are caught on camera again just a street away here on Stanley Street. One of them is on his mobile phone. At 4 in the morning, this crossroads is one of the main thoroughfares for people heading home after a night out. Cameras on Church Street show the two men at this junction. They walk by the Gap store and then past McDonald's into Paradise Street. Cameras inside McDonald's show them walking by outside. Moments later, AJ heads that way too. AJ died from his injuries. The two men just walk away calmly.
Not fair. I've just got to like live the rest of my life now on my own. And all because two people decided to hit someone for nothing.
Well, I'm joined now by AJ's wife, Janet, and by DCI Tim Keelan, who is heading up the inquiry. Thank you to you both for coming, but especially to you, Janet. I know it's very hard for you to sit here and talk to us, and we do appreciate it, and we hope we can help. Tell me about AJ. What sort of man was he?
AJ was he was like a nice man. He was decent, hard work.
And he was a football fanatic. He was mad for his team. And mad for his family, very close to his family.
He was a good husband, he was a dad, and he was made up, he was a granddad.
Now, it's been over a year, and the people who did this to your husband are still out there. How do you feel about that?
I don't really feel anything because I'm numb. I just feel robbed. But
It's had a massive impact, not just on you, but on your children, on your grandchildren, all the people who knew and loved your husband. He was a very popular character.
He was very popular, he was very sociable.
This is a chance for you tonight to speak to people who, if they are not the killers of your husband, they know who the killers are. I want to ask you what you want to say to them.
It's not just about the people who know, it's about also the people who done it. Maybe they didn't realise what they'd done that night. I do understand that they didn't. I feel I do understand they didn't mean to kill him, what they done, but they hit him for nothing. And I appeal to their decency, so that if, you know, come forward. We've got a lot of unanswered questions. My daughter's going to be 18 in a couple of weeks, and the dad should be. I've got a grandson who asks with his granddaddies all the time. A son who, you know, misses about going places with his dad. Wembley for one. His dad just with him. And it just staged them if, you know, they could be living with the guilt themselves. Just come forwards and help us to put some closure on it. I didn't realise how much that meant, that sentence. You know, I need to put closure on this just so we can, you know, just move on with life.
Janet, I really appreciate you coming in, and we wish you all the best with the appeal. Thank you for talking to us. Well, DCI Tim Keelan, you're heading up the investigation. It was, you think, a completely random attack?
Yeah, AJ had been out in Liverpool city centre with his wife celebrating her birthday, and he'd become separated late on, and we think he walked into Paradise Street, and there he was accosted by two men, one of whom punched him and knocked him to the floor, and he died some days later.
You've got new CCTV footage. It's very good footage, very clear. Let's take a look at it. I want you to tell me what the viewers have seen.
Yeah, they're going to see two men aged 18 to 25. One has got a short-sleeved, dark, open-neck shirt on. Has possibly got tattoos on his right arm. They're both short-haired. Second man has got a long-sleeved black top on. He's shorter than the first male and has got very, very short hair. The small male is probably somewhat younger.
OK, they're not necessarily connected to this big football match that was on that day, are they?
No, Everton played Sunderland that day and won 7-1. There's no indication at all that the assailants of Mr Clark are in any way connected to the football match. There were lots of people in the city that day, and there is no reason at all to think that it's connected to the football.
Very briefly, can you just tell me where else these men were that night?
Yeah, they'd been down to Matthew Street, to that area. They walked across Holy Corner, near to Paradise Street, which is where the assault took place. They then walked up Church Street towards Hanover Street and into Wolstenholme Square, which is where this footage is taken.
OK, as I say, these pictures are very clear. If you recognise these men, you've got to do the right thing. For Janet, for her family. Call now, 0500 600 600, or you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously. That would be fine too, 0800 555 111. If you want to take another look at that CCTV, it's online, together with the reconstruction, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. Please, I urge you, do the right thing. Here's Rav with some more faces in the frame.
Right, my number 5 is Wayne Wadforth. He was arrested in February 2007 in connection to the armed robbery of an off-licence in Portsmouth. During the robbery, a female member of staff was held at knife point and locked in a cupboard. Wadforth failed to answer bail and has not been seen since. We think he might be in Liverpool or working on an offshore oil rig. Number 6 is a bit of a tongue twister. It's Oluwaseyi Olurandamiola Farombi. He's wanted for using forged documents and false information to work as a doctor in the UK. We don't think he has any qualifications and could well be working in a hospital at the moment as a locum. His last known address was Catford in South East London. He drives several cars, including a beige Nissan Micra and a blue Freelander, and has an extremely distinctive mole here under his nose. Stephen Gordon, this guy, is wanted for an aggravated burglary in North London last October. The two victims were beaten and tortured and had their cars stolen. Two of the gang have already been caught. They both pleaded guilty, but Gordon remains on the run. He was born in Birmingham and has links to North and East London and is a keen Arsenal football supporter, known to attend home matches. Now, there's a 10 grand reward for information leading to his arrest and conviction, so if you know where he is, pick up the phone now. Last, but by no means least, is United States Air Force Airman Jeremy Parrott. He was found guilty of possessing images of child pornography by a military court here in the UK, but escaped before he could be extradited to the US. He was last seen in October in Bury St Edmunds, staying in a homeless shelter under the name William McGonigal. But get this, he pretends to be mute to conceal his American accent. Unbelievable. He may be hiding in Cambridgeshire and also has links to Ireland and the east coast of England. He could be living in shelters or hostels and working as an odd job man. There's a $10,000 American award for anyone with information directly leading to his capture. So come on, let's put a stop to them tonight. Pick up the phone now. The number's on your screen, 0500 600 600, and you can also check them out online, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch.
Thanks, Rav. Bubbly, vivacious and full of life is how friends describe Southampton Football Club security guard Paula Poulton here. It was her dream to work at the club, and so when she failed to show up for work last October, everybody suspected that something was very wrong, and they raised the alarm. 11 days later, her body was found in the boot of her own car near Swanwick train station, less than a mile from where she lived. She'd been stabbed 7 times. 6 months on, and the hunt for Paula's killer continues. Tonight, police have images of people at Swanwick train station who they believe could hold the key to solving this horrific murder. With me now is Detective Inspector Dan O'Callaghan, who is heading up the investigation. Do you have any idea what actually happened here?
We've gathered a significant amount of information since Paula's death, and subsequently we've learned a lot from members of the public. However, there's still some vital areas the public can help us with. Now, we do know that Paula visited the Tesco superstore in Burswood in Southampton on the evening of Friday the 17th of October.
Okay.
We know she was captured on CCTV there at 21:30, 9:30 in the evening, and she was subsequently captured on CCTV travelling in the direction of Swanwick train station. Now, it was there where we believe she parked her car in Duncan Road adjacent to the train station, and we believe that she then subsequently came to meet her killer.
Okay, so you've got some great facts on CCTV that can pin her to certain places. That's the where. What's the who? What do you know about that?
Well, those close to Paula believe that it's unlikely she would place herself in any danger. She was a streetwise character, and it may be that at least initially on that evening she felt comfortable with whoever she met.
Okay, now Darren, tell me about, this is really the vital thing tonight that we want to talk to lots of people about, is potential witnesses. These are people who were in and around the train station, might not even realise that such a horrific thing was happening there that night.
That's right, there are 38 images of people captured on CCTV from the area of the train station on that evening.
Okay, we're taking a look at them now. And it was, what was the date again? It was the 17th?
17th of October, and those individuals may not think they've got anything significant to tell us. It may be that they were travelling through the area, having used the railway station, and don't believe they've got anything to tell us, and may not have heard anything about Paula's death.
OK, we can't show all the images right now. There are 30-odd of them. People can log on to the website, of course. Remind us briefly of the car.
The car was a black Peugeot 206. Its registration HK54KHH.
I beg your pardon, shouldn't be that clear. Paula's car?
Absolutely, yeah.
OK. Images of those 32 people that police want to hear from are on our website, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. If you are one of those people, or indeed if you recognise anyone, it's vital you call us 0500 600 600 Darren. Thank you to you for that. Now here's Matthew with news on a case that hit the headlines only this month.
Yes, it's a double murder case from 20 years ago. Back in 1989, we reconstructed the murders of Gwenda and Peter Dixon, who were shot dead on a coastal path in Pembrokeshire.
The first of tonight's reconstructions is a case that made the headlines. The disappearance of those 2 walkers, Peter and Gwenda Dixon, on a cliff-top path in Pembrokeshire. It happened at the end of June.
The Dixons were keen walkers. They'd been holidaying in Pembrokeshire for 16 years and knew the area well. At first, police suspected they may have fallen from a cliff while walking, and an extensive search took place. After 2 days, a police dog discovered their bodies off the coastal path. They'd been shot. Well, police continued to work on this case, and following a review in 2007, found possible links to another double murder in the area. Earlier this month, a 64-year-old man was arrested. He's now been charged with all 4 murders. We'll keep you posted on developments.
And we've got news on another horrific double murder case. You'll remember the young Chinese couple. They were found bludgeoned to death at home in Newcastle. That was last August.
In Newcastle, police have started a murder investigation after 2 Chinese students were found dead at a flat in the city's West End. The man and woman were found on Saturday, and post-mortem results show that both had suffered head injuries.
Jun Xingyang and his girlfriend Shi Zhou were both found brutally murdered on the 9th of August last year. They had been separated, tortured and battered to death in their own home. Well, at the time, police were keen to trace a mystery lodger who was living with the couple. Following our appeal, key evidence was recovered which led police to this man here. He is Guan Hui Tsou, and 2 weeks ago he was found guilty of the couple's murder and sentenced to a minimum of 33 years.
Now, this is 41-year-old Emma Tati Rogers, or Tati to her friends. Last December, we appealed for your help when she vanished from her home in Wrexham. Her disappearance was so completely out of character that police quickly declared the case a murder investigation. Well, police have now recovered her body and charged a 27-year-old man with her murder. The case goes to court later this year, and we'll be watching closely to see what happens.
Now, I want you to take a look at a clip from as far back as 1967. That is a German programme. I can't possibly even have a stab at pronouncing it. It translates to you and I as Case XY Unsolved. And it is, in fact, the programme that Crimewatch was originally based on. Back in 1984, the police and the BBC, they were unsure that a UK version would ever work here.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Crimewatch UK. Now, if you've ever worried or complained about crime, this is your chance to do something about it.
The very first Crimewatch was broadcast on the 7th of June 1984.
These are all real police officers. They're all waiting for your call.
From the start, the aim was to bring the police and the public together to solve crime.
You may find some details disturbing the crime.
Originally, only 3 programmes were commissioned, and it wasn't until the 3rd episode that a case was solved as a direct result of viewers' calls.
A last-minute appeal today from Hampshire Police in connection with the crime which took place in the New Forest last Thursday.
We showed a van and an artist's impression of the attacker. An anonymous caller identified him, and he was arrested the next day. Crimewatch has now featured some of the most high-profile cases of the last 25 years.
The explosion came just before 3 o'clock. Most of the residents were asleep.
The written bomb inquiry depends on eliminating everyone who stayed at the Grand Hotel since July the 1st.
It's now nearly 12 weeks since Susie Lamplugh left her estate agent's office to meet a client and never returned.
In a few minutes, you'll hear the voice of the man who kidnapped Stephanie Slater.
Have you got the money?
Who's this, please?
Never mind. Have you got the money?
Quite a few people did know him and came forward, and he was caught the next day.
Michael Sams is in jail tonight, starting 4 life sentences for murdering the Leeds teenager Julie Dart and kidnapping Stephanie Slater.
I knew how important it was for that programme to go out and for people to see the man who kidnapped me and to stop him from doing this again.
Stephanie's and several other cases, including that of James Bulger, shows that Crimewatch reaches parts that other appeals somehow fail to reach.
Police searching for a 2-year-old boy missing in Merseyside have found the body of a child. The body, which hasn't yet been identified, was found on a railway embankment in Walton.
By the time we finish this appeal, someone watching Crimewatch will have a pretty good idea of who did this to James.
We showed enhanced CCTV of James Bulger being led away by 2 young boys. They sent shockwaves through the nation, but proved vital in identifying the killers, 10-year-olds John Venables and Robert Thompson. They were charged 2 days after the programme.
A year ago today, an unprecedented crime took place which astonished and sickened the whole nation. On a Sunday afternoon, Lynn Russell, her daughters Josie and Megan, were waylaid as they walked home from school and then slaughtered.
Miraculously, 9-year-old Josie Russell made a full recovery and was able to help police piece together an e-fit of the offender.
This says it all. I mean, this has just been the response of the calls to the studio.
One of the calls was from a psychiatrist who named the attacker as Michael Stone.
That one phone call is what it took to, as it were, break the case, to provide the police with a key bit of information that they needed. So I would always say to anybody out there to phone in if there's anything you think might be of help. Absolutely go ahead and do it.
Michael Stone has been found guilty at Maidstone Crown Court of murdering Lynn Russell and her daughter Megan. He was given 3 life sentences. The judge told him there cannot be anyone in this country who does not understand the complete horror of the offences.
If Stone wasn't put away, then I'd probably be afraid all the time, but now he is put away. I can move on and just live a normal life.
In 1999, crime came very close to home.
The BBC television presenter Jill Dando has been murdered outside her London home.
This is a sombre and, for me, a surreal Crimewatch UK. For all of us here, it can be gruelling coping with crimes against victims who are strangers. It's been almost unbearable dealing with Jill's death.
Sarah vanished 3 weeks ago while visiting her grandparents' house near Littlehampton in West Sussex. The discovery of Sarah's body in a field confirmed what her family and the police already dreaded. We didn't dare hope, but we've had a phenomenal response on the Sarah Payne case, something like 200 calls.
Several viewers named Roy Whiting, but he denied the murder.
At what stage do you take hold of that old girl, put her into your van? No comment.
But another appeal gave police the breakthrough they needed. A caller gave information about key forensics in Whiting's van that proved beyond doubt he was the killer.
You murdered Sarah Evelyn Isabel Payne.
Roy Whiting was driven away to begin his life sentence, his reign of terror over, giving justice to the parents of a girl they used to call Princess, whose reign of innocence was robbed before it had hardly begun.
This doesn't make us happy, but justice has been done. Sarah can rest in peace now.
In October 2002, following one of the biggest hunts for a serial rapist since the Yorkshire Ripper, police appealed for help to catch the M25 rapist.
The victims have ranged from the age of 10 to a woman in her 50s.
A railway worker was today given 7 life sentences.
Anthony Imiello was found guilty of a series of vicious attacks in a year-long campaign of terror. He was caught when his neighbour recognised him on Crimewatch. When 7-year-old Tony Ann Byfield was murdered, she became the youngest victim of gun crime in Britain. When the trail to find her killer went cold, police appealed for help on Crimewatch.
Well, the Crimewatch appeals gave me both the name of my suspect and they gave me the witnesses who were eventually going to convict him at court. It's no exaggeration to say that without Crimewatch, I don't think we'd have solved this case.
Yeah, look, come here. Can you tell me where Wolds Drive is, please?
You just come out of it.
Over a quarter of a century, Crimewatch has featured nearly 4,000 appeals.
You don't have to call yourself a guardian angel to help cut crime.
This is a £50 note. In fact, it's not worth the paper it's printed on.
Let's hope we do just as well tonight.
2 months ago, a man punched a woman and stole her handbag in Hampstead, North London.
Closing in on the Rotherham rapist.
Rip-off artists, literally.
So if you do get off affairs like these, fresh from the back of a lorry, give us a ring here. Ring your local police.
I reckon that someone out there tonight is going to know who these killers are.
The look of the programme may have changed, and when we feature cases like the murder of Rhys Jones, shot dead by a teenage gang member, it may seem a world away from 1984. But one thing hasn't changed: what a difference your calls can make. Of the thousands of appeals we've featured, 1 in 3 now leads to an arrest, 1 in 5 to a conviction. Crimewatch continues to be a success, and that's down to you.
Meanwhile, don't have nightmares. Don't have nightmares, do sleep well.
Do keep calm. Bye-bye. It's all about the calls.
It is the critical ingredient. Calls from the public, calls even from inmates over the years. And sometimes, you know, criminals don't even wait for the police to come knocking. We had a case a couple of months ago where somebody featured at the top of the programme. By the time the credits rolled, an hour later, he'd handed himself in. Another guy physically drove all the way to Television Centre and handed himself in to the security guard at the gate. He said, "If it's been on Crimewatch, here I am."
I didn't know initially it was just going to be 3 programmes and no more.
Yeah, I mean, the BBC were cautious, but the police took even more convincing. I mean, the chief police officer they approached initially, his response was, "Look, I'm paid to catch villains, not to go messing around creating television programmes." But he was eventually convinced. In those initial programmes, only a handful of forces actually got involved. But fast forward 25 years, and every day the programme gets about 4 or 5 requests to actually have an appeal.
And because of our brilliant viewers, hundreds of people, I mean literally hundreds of people behind bars because of them.
Literally hundreds, and it's an evolving programme because initially it was seen as a last resort, but increasingly it's been used at the earliest stages.
Now, do you recognise the sound? It might seem a bit comical, but police believe this man may be a murderer. To coincide with our 25th anniversary, we have relaunched our website to include extra appeals. So if you think you recognise that person, that noise, log on, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch, and look at the case of Andrew Cunningham. Now here's Rav with some news on the Crimewatch Roadshow.
And every morning this month on the Crimewatch Roadshow, I'll be appealing for your help on crimes that affect us all.
In
mean, everyone was upset, especially the people that the cars has been damaged, you know.
There was 90 vehicles damaged during the course of that night. Total cost, we believe, is going to be really in the region of £75,000 to £100,000.
Adam bought a sandwich at this shop. He then crossed the road towards the post office. He was struck with such force that he was catapulted into the air and landed on top of a parked car before hitting the pavement. The motorist didn't stop. They simply drove off. Adam died at the scene. He was 18 years old.
Early days, Rav, but any results this week?
Yeah, we showed you a salon earlier this morning that had been burgled 3 times in just 4 months. So before we came off air, 4 names have been put forward for the offender, and the police are following that up now.
So join Rav weekdays 9:15 on BBC One. Now, Matthew, what's been coming in on the phones?
Loads of brilliant calls, principally on the Claudia Lawrence appeal, with 40 calls, links directly with the primary appeal for previous relationships to call in. New names also being added to the frame. The police really pleased. A lot of calls also on Anthony Clark, that murder. More on the update on that. Kirsty.
That's all for now. Details of all of tonight's cases are online, bbc.co.uk/crimewatch. You can log on now for a live update on what's happening here on the phone. Seems like it's been a pretty busy night. The lines are open until midnight tonight and from 7:30 in the morning. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning for the Crime Watch Roadshow, as Raf said, 9:15 a.m. That's on BBC One. Crime Watch itself is back on Monday the 29th of June. But whatever you do, don't go away. We are here after the news with a full update on all of tonight's cases. If you can help, but you haven't called yet, please do it now. It could all be down to you. I'll see you at 10:35. Bye-bye.
Welcome to another crime scene.